For 100 minutes yesterday, users of Google's Gmail service didn't have access to their inboxes, and as a result, they went to Facebook and Twitter and numerous internet outlets in protest. They want their Gmail back. Some even mentioned resorting to thinking about going back to AOL email, which they hadn't recalled outages on, but though there had been in the past. How should we expect outages like this in the future, and how frequent will they be, or maybe should we just kind of get over it? We bring in Andrew Nuska, who's a blogger over at ZDNet. Andrew, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
So yesterday during the Gmail outage, was your life basically over, like some of these Twitter users were saying?
Well, thankfully, it was at the end of the day, so hopefully my life wasn't over too much. But it certainly impacted me because I do use my Gmail account as my primary account and basically the bucket in which all my other email accounts, except for my work account, feed into. So it definitely had an impact, and to boot, I couldn't talk to anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the funny thing is when you lose the ability to email people, people take to Twitter and Facebook. And I feel like we have all these backup methods that kind of fill the void for that 100 minutes. Typically in the past, we're not subject to these big outages. And 100 minutes is definitely significant, especially in mission critical email situations like the people who use apps for your domain or whatever. How at fault here is Google? Should people really be thinking of getting a different email provider, or is it just kind of one of those things for you?
Well, it's obviously it's Google's fault to a degree, but as I understand it, the problem was a maintenance problem, and probably could have been avoided. I think Google understands just the true breadth of their Gmail system, and so they know that they make one slight little change and it impacts probably millions of users. So I think as everybody kind of moves into the cloud and away from having desktop email, I think Google knows that they've got to kick up their game to really make sure that everything stays stable. Yeah, as for having a separate email address, you should always have a backup.
Yeah, no, having a backup is definitely a good idea. In Google's blog post, they had mentioned that the problem actually was caused because of a router who took on, a bunch of traffic headed to one router. The router said, "Don't touch me, I'm full," switched to another router which said the same message, and eventually all the routers which lead to Gmail essentially said the same error, "Don't send me traffic." So Google kind of has an idea of how this happened and how they're going to fix it in the future. The big joke yesterday was people were jumping on Twitter, with pitchforks and torches. I feel like, to me, it's kind of comical in that we lose Gmail for 100 minutes, and the phone goes down occasionally. You don't have phone access, or your internet cable gets cut and you don't have internet for a while. Should people really expect this mission critical service from Google, or is it more of a luxury they've had for so long that they don't know what it's like to live without it for 90 minutes, 100 minutes?
I think it's a bit of the latter. Think about years ago when all you really had was the telephone, and then that was it. You didn't have your mobile phone, and you didn't have a computer, and you didn't have GChat and other IM sources and Twitter and Facebook, and there are ways to get in touch with people, and that's kind of the wonder of 2009 and beyond, right? So I think people are right to criticize. It keeps everybody on their toes, but in the case of Google, honestly, when catastrophes happen, it's a series of small mistakes, right?
Yeah.
Small avoidable mistakes, and that was the case there. So the same way people should have their own backup email systems when something goes down, so should Google. That's what they're learning right now, how to avoid things scaling.
Yeah, it's just pretty hilarious to me. I think next time Gmail goes down, inevitably, I feel like we've had this problem maybe like a year ago or so. It's not the first time that Google's had problems with Gmail. Maybe that they'll learn a little bit better for next time to maybe mitigate some of that Twitter madness that went on. I feel like my Twitter just exploded. I don't know. Anyway.
Absolutely. As did my Facebook, I should say. Different populations, though. I think the people on Twitter wielded pitchforks, and I think the people on Facebook just kind of shouted out to the void.
All right, Andrew, we're going to leave it there. Andrew Nuska is a ZDNet blogger. You can check him out at Behind the Lines blog, among other places, on ZDNet. I'm Randall Bennett. You can catch us. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on iTunes and YouTube. You can catch us anywhere, and even Gmail. Email us to your friends. I don't know. Let us know what they think. Anyway, see you later.